Hey everybody, today I'm talking about Die of the Dead, which is a 2021 release board game designed by James Allen and Mark Stockton Pitt. This one accommodates 2 to 5 players and takes around 45 minutes to play. Now, as you can see from the box here, it's got very striking artwork based on the Day of the Dead festival. This one is a pretty light dice rolling game and action selection game as you're trying to race to get your souls or your dice to the top of this really large staircase here, which is kind of imposes over the player board. In addition to the wonderful artwork on the box, you've got these quite interesting caskets on the board, which have, again, add to the table presence. And your dice are going to go in and out of those caskets to try and get them to the top of the staircase by taking different actions. And these actions are allocated to these different tiles here, which are double-sided. So on one side you've got the text version, and on the other side you've got just the symbology. And you've got to use those to do different things. You're going to have a pool of dice, or your souls, and you've also got your prepared souls, which are the ones that are kind of ready to be put into the caskets. And there are additionally these different things here, these different tokens, which can be used to mitigate dice rolls and to mitigate your chance of doing well in the game as the game progresses. There's also the opportunity to unlock these power souls, which means that whenever you roll these skull tokens, you get to choose the pip value rather than just being subject to the pips that you've rolled. So let's talk about how you actually win the game and what you're going to do throughout. So as I said, you are going to pick one of the 4 different actions. So each action is always going to be associated to a particular casket, but those caskets are going to rotate and change as the game goes on. At any time, the casket allocated to the number 1 action is always going to be open, but the other ones are going to be closed, meaning that there's quite a strong element of memory in this game as you're trying to remember which dice you've got in each of your caskets. So let's talk about what each action does. So the first one here, this action 1 space, lets you add up to 3 prepared souls or 1 free soul. So prepared souls are the ones already on your board here. So if you had 3 of those, you can chuck them straight into this casket, or alternatively, you can just take 1 that you've not prepared yet into the casket like so. And then what you do is you would, or if there's at least 2 different players in there, which in this case there is, you've got the yellow player, the red player, and the black player. And then you would close the casket, you'd give it a shake, like so, which is going to jumble all the dice up. You're going to reveal it. And then it says here, if a 1 was rolled, then the caskets are going to move. So in this example, the 1 wasn't rolled, but let's just say it was. Then this one is going to shift into this space, this one's going to shift into this space, this is going to shift into this space, and this one is going to go back to space 1, which of course is going to open it. So you now remember what you've got back in this space here. This one here, the second action, lets you prepare up to 2 souls, which means again you can put them from your common supply onto your player board. You don't need to roll them yet. And then it says you shake the casket, you compare souls, and the winner with either the highest value. Let's show you what I mean here. So it says here again, you shake the casket, you compare the souls, and the winner prepares a soul. If a 1 is rolled, you move the caskets. So basically what this means is whenever you are looking for a winner, or whoever's, whenever it says, the winner prepares a soul, you're looking for whoever's got the highest pip value. So in this case, the yellow, because they've got the 6. Obviously you've got black in second place here, but if there were ever 2 players on the same, they would cancel each other out, and then you'd go to the next one. So again, in this example, it would be yellow again. But let's say yellow had 2 6s and the black only had 1, then the yellow would win because they've got the majority of 6s. So that's kind of how ties are broken. And in this example, again, it says if you've rolled a 1, then you're going to move the casket. So we did roll a 1, so the lid would go on, and again, the caskets would move up, shifting them all around. But I don't think we need to do that this time. The second one here, or the third action, it says you can shake the casket. Let's do that. And then you would reveal it. And then it says here, if there's ever a player or players with duplicate souls, and that means basically the matching symbol. So for example here, the black has 2 matching souls of value 2. Then you're going to remove one of them. So that's a good way to thin out your opponent's chances of winning a certain casket, or reduce their chances when you go on to action 4. But before we cover action 4, let's talk about the action tokens you can get. It says here, gain an action token or gain 1 token. They let you really manipulate the state of the game. So This one here, when you reveal it, you can cash in this token and shake the casket again if you didn't like the dice roll. This one here lets you, it says here, play when another player chooses a casket, and then you can add a prepared soul to that casket before the player shakes it, so you can jump straight in and cut the queue. And this one here says, but play before you choose a casket, and then you can add a soul to the casket and remove another player's soul from the casket. From casket 1 particularly. And this one here says play before any player chooses a casket, and then you can swap to adjacent caskets. And these are double-sided, so there's a bit of variability there, which again can mitigate and change your luck and increase your chances of winning the game. So let's talk about the final action you can take, which is the one which is going to kind of mainly contribute to, in fact, almost entirely contribute to how you're going to win the game. So in this one, you're going to shake the casket, you're going to reveal, and you're going to determine who the winner is. So in this example, we've got 2 6s, so they would technically be tying, but the red player rolled a skull, so they could basically proxy that to be a 6, which means the red player would be the winner, and the red player is going to take 2 of their dice, and you're going to put them from the bottom step, moving upwards on these different symbols. And you can never take 2 of the same symbols, but they give you different bonuses. So for example here, this one lets me unlock one of my special dice to get one of those skull dice. This one here lets me kind of prepare a soul. These let me take these particular bonus actions. And then whoever triggered that action is going to take a little bonus as well, such as moving the caskets, either gaining a power soul, which is one of those special dice, or ascending one of your dice. So, you know, if I was the yellow player and I trigger that action, even though I didn't win it, I could still start my voyage up the staircase and get going. So that's pretty much how the game is going to play until somebody reaches the top level, which is going to trigger the end game immediately. So let's talk about how I feel about Die of the Dead. So as you can probably tell from the little run through there, that Die of the Dead isn't going to be your next heavy Euro strategy game. It really is a simple luck dependent dice chucker. And I don't think it pretends to be anything other than that, really. Yeah, the actions are relatively simple and they're pretty straightforward, and you know what you're going to do from turn to turn. You know, are you going to add more dice into the pool ready to get going? Are you going to try and prepare more souls to kind of speed that process up? Are you going to try and thin people out of certain caskets if you know they're doing particularly well? So a tiny bit of take that there. And you've also got, of course, the main action in which you're going to try and ascend the pyramid, hoping that you're going to roll the casket where you've got the most dice in there to increase your odds. You've got a little bit of manipulation, a little bit of mitigation with these tokens here, and I will say that some of these tokens are better than others, and I think you can really increase the enjoyability of the game if you put a certain array of these tokens up to give you a bit more satisfaction in the mitigation you can do, because some are more fun and a bit more interesting than others. But they are very small games, and you know, just add a fraction to the control you have over the game. So it would be nice to see a little bit more control, a little bit more autonomy over the different actions you can take. But again, I don't want to make this game into something it's not. It is a very family-friendly, extremely accessible dice throwing game. And, you know, it doesn't put on any airs. It doesn't pretend to be. It's not that. You've got the bonuses of here, which you can get as you climb up the track as well to try and speed things up. And, of course, there's somewhat of a automatic catch-up mechanism as well, because when people are particularly running away with it, they're going to be taking more dice out of the caskets and putting them onto the staircase here, which is going to basically take them out or reduce their odds of actually winning going forward. So it does have some auto-balancing there. That's pretty much all there is really to it. Of course, you want to have a steady income of dice onto your prepared souls to make things quicker. And something that you will probably, well, unavoidably factor in is this game does have quite a strong element of memory in the game, which is normally quite a deterrent for me. I'm not a big fan of memory games. I have a terrible memory, so naturally I'm not very good at them. However, I think this game does the memory aspect quite well, because you know, even if you can't remember something, you know, you can still take a punt on it and it's not going to be game breaking. But just having that little bit of knowledge, you know, I know for a fact I have, say, 6 dice in this casket and my opponent only has 3. I want to do this action now before someone rotates it round until I have to go all the way around again. So that's quite fun, and I actually do think the memory element works quite well, which is normally a deterrent for me. You've also got the ascended dice here, also these powered up souls, which again give you a little bit more control and increase your odds on doing well. And I think they're quite a welcome little touch and add a bit more progression into the game and speed things up again, as if you're falling behind, you've got more powered souls in there, you've got more dice in there, and you can really race for that finish. So that race does shine through quite nicely. And even if you do keep triggering the end game, the final tile here, and somebody else keeps winning by putting 2 dice onto the track, you do get a consolation prize in just putting 1 up there, so that you aren't just completely shafted and go without and just kind of lay the table for other people to win. So that's quite nice as well. So I do like the way they've considered that, and it doesn't just waste your whole turn. So, that's pretty much all the thought process is in this game. It's just going with the process, trying to remember which caskets you're in, and hopefully beating your opponent to the top of that pyramid. So obviously, in terms of the balance, it is very luck dependent. It's very much dependent on that dice roll, and you are going to be subject and at the mercy of shaking that casket and seeing what is revealed with a tiny amount of manipulation from those tokens. The time investment of the game is quick. It doesn't outstay its welcome. It says 45 minutes. I think you can probably get it done a little bit quicker than that. And if it did go on longer than that, no doubt it would start to outstay its welcome, because there's not much decision space here. The uptime is pretty quick. These actions are snappy to resolve. And you're always invested in other people's turns as well, because if you take this action, for example, the winner, again the person with the highest value dice, is going to get a little prize. This one, if people take this action and you've got a bunch of tokens in there, then you can you could potentially suffer having dice removed. And of course, this one, if you win it, you're going to be on your way to winning. Aesthetically, I think the game looks really nice. It has a completely different aesthetic to many games out there. And to be honest, I'm surprised this kind of Day of the Dead theme isn't milked more, because it's quite a pop culture theme at this time. And it's got very striking artwork. It's very, it's nice to look at. It certainly appeals to the senses, and it really does pop. So I do like the way the game looks. I think it's got a real nice striking aesthetic, and these caskets are really well done. I suppose they're a bit of a gimmick, but they're nice, robust cardboard, and they're going to hold up to scrutiny, and it's going to catch someone's attention. And all this thing, including this big, tall staircase, is going to add to the table presence of the game. And I think if it didn't have all these bells and whistles, then perhaps it wouldn't get nearly the attention, or wouldn't have even succeeded its Kickstarter goal. But I suppose that's what a skin can do, and that's what good artwork can do for you. So I do like the way the game looks, and it's put together quite nicely. The dice themselves are of a reasonable, good quality. And of course, you've got these powered soul dice, which are bespoke for the game, which is cool. Scalability, I wouldn't say to play this with fewer than 3 players. It does say you can play with 2 players. And I think it is going to start peaking at that 3 or 4 player count. Maybe 5 will be a bit congested, but generally it scales pretty well. And comparison-wise, there are a lot of dice chuckers out there. Lots of them where you're trying to roll things, trying to break majorities and things. This one isn't amongst the best of them. When I think of a game like that, games like Las Vegas Royale spring to mind, which are fantastically executed, and you have a bit more decision, a bit more autonomy about the outcome of these dice, of the dice rolls, and what to invest in. Whereas this one, constantly things are being shifted around. You think you line something up, and somebody moves it, and you've got to go around again. So yeah, there are better games like this, but I wouldn't say this is a bad one. It's okay. Nothing special. That's Day of the Dead, really. Nothing more I can say. I think if you've watched this video, you're going to know if this game is for you or not. So that concludes my thoughts on Day of the Dead. If you have enjoyed the video, please hit like and subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos too. For everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.